Hello and welcome to the Boost Over Ball podcast, your go-to place for everything Rocket League with your hosts, K-Cube, AJ Binky, and Red. So lean forward, lock in, and get ready to go Boost Over Ball.
Hello and welcome back to the Boost Over Ball podcast. To listeners new and old, hello and welcome to the show. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm Kyle, K-Cube, and we are doing a little bit of a solo episode today due to some internet issues on my part. I can't connect with the guys and get a regular episode out to you guys, but today's episode will be a little bit shorter because of that. But today we will be discussing the latest news in the Rocket League world. Nations are dropping like flies from FIFA E, and the big news, as leaked by HypeX, is Rocket League coming to Fortnite and the Fortnite launcher. All this and more as we dive right in. So first and foremost, FIFA E. It was announced first on Twitter through Stizzy. Well, not really through Stizzy, but it was first through Atomic. But Rocket Street posted that Spain will not participate in the 2025 FIFA E World Cup. And Atomic said, didn't know about this until now. Also, with the treatment and deal we had last year, is obvious we weren't going to play it. The tournament is amazing, by the way. It has nothing to do with them, so we will enjoy watching it from home. But really kind of where this gained some momentum was from Stizzy, who said, by the way, I want you to know that none of CRR, Atomic, and I took a single euro from the FIFA tournament because Spain wanted us to make at least top 4 to take prize pool, and even making top 4, they took 50% of the prize. So Spain took the 15K of the prize. They did not even pay for the flights. They only gave us the shirts and told us it had cost them to give us the shirts. And now, after all that, they tell us that they do not want us to participate in this tournament while they do not have to spend any money. On top of that, we found out yesterday that we were not going to play it. In short, things of Spain. So a lot to say. It was not very well organized. They had to pay for their own flights, and it just kind of is a little bit of a cluster in terms of Spain's participation in FIFA E. And so because of that, they will not field the team and they will not participate this year. So Spain is no longer in the running. A top 4 team is now dropped out. Secondly, it was in a tweet released 4 days after that. Raw Greg, the Genji Mobile One Racing coach and last year's FIFA E USA coach, said, barring a miraculous last-minute change of heart, U.S. Soccer will not be fielding a team for FIFA E this December. Despite the work and efforts of countless individuals in the scene, we have been stonewalled at every turn by the Federation while trying to make this happen. A few weeks ago, I was finally met with a definitive no and have not received any replies since then. I love my country, I love all the players in this region, and no doubt we deserve better. FIFA E was truly one of the most forward-thinking tournaments we have ever had in Rocket League as far as technology and format, but in my opinion, they needed agreements in place with these federations far before they committed to a tournament of this magnitude. I have tried for months to express what this means to the Rocket League community to not have the United States represented at this event, but in the end, they chose a different title and believe in that title for their representation. A huge blow for International Rocket League here, as you know, with the announcement that Canada was not selected. USA will not field a team. There is now no North American representation at the FIFA E World Cup for Rocket League, which is a huge blow to the esport, especially with that being one of the Rocket League's major regions. But, you know, realistically, I don't fully understand the decision-making process here, or, you know, what went into everything that, you know, has transpired so that these nations cannot compete or won't compete. It's also been, you know, confirmed that Singapore and Denmark will not be competing either. Singapore has LCT and Maxiu, who's living there. I don't know if he has dual citizenship to compete there or not, but Denmark with Nico and Juke and, you know, some of the other players that we saw in the EU LCQ. Denmark seems to be, you know, kind of an up-and-coming region in terms of Rocket League skills, so this is another bummer to not be able to see them compete. with Itachi retiring from RLCS, it kind of puts Morocco's future in doubt. Who's gonna play with them? You certainly still have Drawley and Nas, but who's that third gonna be? I'm not sure. But all that to say, with so much hype coming off of last year's FIFA World Cup, I am upset to see how much this has taken a turn now that we're missing. The U.S. with all the last minute subs ended up sending the former Genji roster, and they did not perform to expectations of the rest of the nation. But I would have imagined that they would have sent a pretty stacked team, and one that would have been able to compete at a high level for top four for a win. But we won't see Spain, we won't see the US. Canada, Denmark, and Singapore are the teams that are also not confirmed to be there. I can only imagine that more teams will drop out before the tournament starts, but for the sake of the viewing pleasure of us here on the show and everyone else, we really hope that does not happen. But, the next kind of huge piece of news that I don't know if dropped or leaked is the right word, but HypeX on Twitter, HypeX has 4 million followers, Fortnite Leaks and News, it's a very large account, tweeted on August 17th, Rocket League is rumored, in all caps, to be ported into Fortnite in the future. So most of the initial reactions to this are shock, like, this game's in the bin, it's over, it's chalked, whatever you want to say. But, I don't know that necessarily to be true, right? Like, all people have been asking for is UE5 or newer in Rocket League, and if you have to boot up Fortnite to get to it, why is that such a big difference, right? Like, you've been asking for a creative mode. Well, Fortnite has that. You've been asking for the newer Unreal Engine. Well, Fortnite has that. It's you've asked for better servers. Well, Fortnite has that. So, at least to me, it kind of makes sense in terms of the timeline for everything that's kind of been, some big gripes with Rocket League as of recently, right? Like, it kind of seems like you didn't really have a lot of effort or attention being put towards it. The DDoS and the server issues have been huge, but, realistically, why would you put a tremendous amount of time and effort into it if you're not going to continue developing the game on Steam or Epic? You'd rather have it as a Fortnite option. So, potentially that's a reason for it. I think we all kind of expected that something big was happening with Rocket League's 10th year anniversary happening this year, that, 10 years old. But, every Rocket Pass thus far has had 4 phases in it, and this one only has 3. This competitive season and Rocket Pass ends the Monday after the World Championships conclude. And with the generally longer off season than most for Rocket League, at least for RLCS's, for RLCS's sake, happening, from mid-September until January, most likely, just like last year, 3 full months plus, right? So it's probably about 4 months of off season before next year's RLCS. So I would imagine that, that would give the players ample time to acclimatize themselves to a new version of Rocket League or anything like that might happen. So while maybe it's not ideal or what people were looking for in, like a updated Rocket League or Rocket League 2 or whatever it is that you would like to say for that, I think that there's certainly a lot of opportunities and reasons for optimism on this. Again, this is not confirmed. It is just a rumor, but, we really think that, with everything, all the leaks, all the fact that Rocket League is 10 now, and, all the things that they did in game, I think that it points to something pretty big. I think this is certainly something that could happen. I think that it would probably benefit Epic, just with the success that Fortnite has had. I think that you could potentially even bring more players back into Rocket League this way, but we'll have to wait and see on that one. But for our schedule for the upcoming weeks, we are 3 weeks away from RLCS World Championship in Lyon. So I think next week we're going to be trying to do an interview. I think that will be on Wednesday. That we'll try and record that live. And so we'll see what we can do there. But then after that, we will be back to our normally scheduled episodes. So just because of the Labor Day holiday, we're going to move the recording to Wednesday the 3rd. And then after that, we'll be back to the 9th of September, the 16th, as we kind of get into the World Championships. We'll do our preview heading into that, using all the information that we have and, how teams did at the Esports World Cup. So that will be a fun episode. I'm sure we'll have some new segments in there too. And then, as you know, we'll talk everything RLCS during and after the event. So a lot to look forward to, a lot to think about, and really kind of reorient your priorities at least. And, really, I think that the biggest thing that I can say is maybe just keep an open mind about it, right? So we're hoping for, potentially a CRL update at Worlds. We're hoping for, potentially Rocket League 2 or an updated Rocket League at Worlds. There's a lot, to be hopeful for. But in the meantime, just maybe lay off the copium a little bit. Just get ready to enjoy some phenomenal Rocket League and just experience what Rocket League is like in person in France, because it's going to be a different beast altogether. But with that, I would like to thank you all so much for listening. I'd like to remind everyone that this podcast is proudly brought to you by our name level supporters on Patreon, Alyssa B. Please remember to rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts, share the show, tell a friend. It all helps us grow our audience and improve the show. Remember to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky, TikTok, and Twitch, and come join our Discord. Come talk some ball. We always love interacting with all of you guys and talking shop. It's one of our favorite things to do. Also, please make sure to check us out by checking out our merch store and our Patreon. This is how we fund the show and do giveaways. All of these links and more can be found on our website, boostoverball.com. And from us here on the show, as always, remember to choose Boost over Ball. See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Boost Over Ball podcast. Make sure to check out our website at boostoverball.com.